I am really excited to be here. When I used to present at tech conferences, I used to be representing Microsoft, and that wasn't always easy. What's great now is I get to represent Room to Read. How many of you have heard of or taken part in the Ice Bucket Challenge? How many of you have heard of it? The majority of you have heard of it. Well, I'm going to talk to you about one thing that I think is interesting. Number one, if you're on Twitter, we're at Room to Read, and I'm at John Wood RTR for John Wood Room to Read. This is our answer at Room to Read to the Ice Bucket Challenge. This is going to be an inspiring challenge. You're going to have 60 high-energy, high-volume seconds here to see the latest challenge we've come up with. It's called the Do Not Read This Challenge. I hope you enjoy it. Let's cue it, and let's turn up the volume. Village in Nepal, but he had no children's books, and I asked him why, and the headmaster said, well, in Nepal we are too poor to afford education, but until we have education we're always going to remain poor. And that struck me as the cruelest irony, that any kid in this modern wealthy world we live in can be told at age 5 or 6 you're not going to get educated. So I got outside my comfort zone and I quit Microsoft in 1999 to start this organization called Room to Read. I'm going to tell you quickly about my own journey. The video references the fact that almost 800 million people in the world today cannot read or write. It's a huge challenge, a moonshot challenge to say, can we end illiteracy in our lifetime? 250 million kids are in school, partly because of the Millennium Development Goals, was all about building schools, but are not learning because there's not teachers, there's not reading materials, there's not a well-defined pedagogy. So kids are going, but they're not learning. And then the biggest challenge I see is that 2/3 of those who are out of school and illiterate are girls and women. Raise your hand if you have an educated mother. Almost every one of you in this room. It's not a coincidence. One of the reasons you're in this room and you're successful is because your mother was educated. So was mine. My mother read to me. So Room to Read's goal is very simple. It's to think like a business, think creatively. Although we are a charity, we are run like a business. We have our own big, hairy, audacious goals. Our core belief is summarized in 6 simple words. World change starts with educated children. And our goal, quite simply, is to focus on 2 areas. We're what a VC would call a pure play. We just want to do a couple of things, do them well, do them with high impact, and do them at scale. That's literacy and gender equality in education. Those are our 2 focus areas. MR was an early investor. And I told MR at our first meeting, MR, this is going to cost you a lot of money if you get involved in this, because we're not going to go small on this. This is not going to be a little Band-Aid solution. Our big, hairy, audacious goal, in the words of Jim Collins, was to reach 10 million young people by the year 2020. Now, to be clear, we are a small, cash-strapped NGO. I often joke I didn't make enough money at Microsoft to start a foundation. I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not Steve Ballmer. I made enough money to start an NGO. But I believe that if I asked the world to get involved in this, to say it doesn't take a lot of money to reach out to a rural community in Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or Vietnam or Cambodia, and get a library up and running. It's $5,000, and that impacts 400 kids. Girls' education, $250 US per girl per year, gets a girl in school and keeps her in school and gives her all the life skills she needs to be successful, so we have a world where not only the men participate, but the women. I'm very proud that amongst our seed funding, most of it came from the tech community. Pure philanthropic capital, but Don Valentine of Sequoia Capital, Mark Andreessen, Bill Draper and Robin Richards from Draper Richards, Jeff Skoll from eBay. Those were the ones who put the early money in to say, you got to scale this thing because a world without education is a world where the problems will continue. Our global footprint, we've grown very quickly. Like many of you in this room, we think audaciously and we want to grow our market as quickly as possible because in a world with this many kids who are illiterate, we have to think big. So you see our work across Southeast Asia, across South Asia, and across Sub-Saharan Africa. We hope over time our footprint will grow. We realized early on we had to start fundraising chapters around the world. As I mentioned, I'm not a billionaire, but we need capital because you can't go big if you don't have capital. So I've been on an airplane circling the world for about 14.5 consecutive years since leaving Microsoft, and we've been building out fundraising chapters all around the world to tell people you don't have to quit your job to become a do-gooder. You can keep your job, but devote 5% of your time, 10% of your time to doing good through organizations like Room to Read. Be a part-time philanthropist, it's okay. I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes some examples of some really cool things the tech community is doing to to support Room to Read and help us grow our footprint and help us move towards that goal of 10 million children by the year 2020. Sneak preview, we might get to that goal early, but I'm not going to tell you that till the very end, okay? Is that all right, MR? Okay, great, as long as I have your approval. We have been trying to innovate. All of you are innovating. We've been trying to innovate from the very, very beginning. One of the biggest issues we faced is that if you want to solve the illiteracy problem, you have to have quality reading materials that kids engage with, that kids want to read. Many of you may remember your favorite book or your favorite books from childhood. I'll never forget my Dr. Seuss books, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, Go Dog Go, these books that were engaging. One of the challenges we face, though, is super simple. For-profit publishers, the for-profit publishers do not publish books in languages spoken by poor people. Why would you? There's no profit incentive. But think about this for a second, the supply chain of poverty. There are 2 billion people in the world today living in less than $2 a day. They're too poor to afford education, but if they don't get educated, they're always going to remain poor. So we decided, okay, we have to become a book publisher and actually start publishing literature that children can relate to. We went to Jeff Skoll and the Skoll Foundation. Jeff's a brilliant business person, also a brilliant philanthropist. When he left eBay, he devoted himself to doing good for the world. And we said, Jeff, we want to go find talent, whether that talent is in Rajasthan, whether that talent is in Andhra Pradesh or Nepal or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. We want to find the Dr. Seuss of India. We want to find the J.K. Rowling of Nepal. We want to find the Tintin of Tanzania. And what I'm going to show you here, I hope it'll blow you away. This is the creativity we've unleashed with getting authors and artists in our host countries to produce high-quality children's literature. I'm going to show you here just 50 books in 50 seconds. And I want you to pretend just for a moment that you're an 8-year-old girl in Cambodia or you're a 9-year-old boy in the mountains of Nepal, and it's the first day your library opens and you go in, you don't know what to expect. Here's what you're going to see. Only 50 books in 50 seconds, but please enjoy. So there you go. That's the talent that we've unleashed throughout the world of getting authors and artists. Now, I know a lot of you are in tech. You're asking yourselves, what about digitizing? Yes, this stuff can also be digitized and shared. What's cool about it, and we're all at Room to Read, we're all about scale. Everything we think about is basically quality impact at scale, quality impact at scale. This program started out very simple. 10 titles in one language, in Nepalese, in 2004 with Jeff Skoll's funding. And it's grown way beyond our wildest dreams. We are now at the point where we've actually published 1,158 original titles using local authors and local artists. This is an incredible thing. We've actually published now in 28 languages, including 8 different languages here in India. So if you think about the situation for kids in India, quite often where they're born is completely random, but they may not have books in their mother tongue. So our goal is to make sure that we are giving kids books everywhere, and ultimately they'll grow up literate in their own language, but also hopefully literate in other languages. With the ability to control the printing presses and get the books out there, also comes the ability to scale the program. The first Room to Read library in Bahundan, Nepal, in 1999 started with about 600 books. Room to Read, with the support of the tech and the business community, has now put 15.6 million books into the hands of eager young readers. So this shows, thank you. I think it shows that your startup can start small, right? I had a yak and some books, and that was it in 1999. But we've tried to grow it, and I think most of you have startups, just double it again, and don't let the obstacles get you down. We've continued to grow. We're really excited that UNESCO gave us the Confucius Prize for Literacy, recognizing the quality of this program, but also the local participation. We were not expats or outsiders going into a community and imposing our books on them. We worked with authors and artists from the community and empowered them to create this literature. We've been building schools all over the world. I'm very proud to say the first school was built in 1999, and I funded it in honor of my parents. We have now built 1,900 schools all around the world so that kids have a place to go and a place to be safe and a place with trained teachers. The original goal, we also with training teachers have now gotten over 10,000. How many of you can think of a teacher who meant something to you in your life, or a school librarian who meant the world to you? For me, it was Miss Burdette in 3rd grade. I had a bit of a crush on her as a young 9-year-old. I had Miss Taggy in 5th grade, those teachers. Well, Room to Read's training teachers all around the world and working in partnership with the governments to make sure that the governments are supporting the system by putting in trained teachers and paying their salary. We've come a long way since that first library in Bahundan in Nepal. I dreamed when I quit Microsoft of one day opening my 100th library, maybe one day opening our 500th library, maybe one day opening our 1,000th library, because that would be our way to start scaling. I'm super happy to say that Room to Read has now opened over 17,500 libraries all around the world. Over 6,000 of those libraries are in India. And we're really proud of our India team. It's 320 people strong. It's 100% Indian nationals. They're distributed across 8 states in India. We recognize that India still, unfortunately, has the largest number of people who are not able to read or write in the world. And as Sabir Bhatia, the Hotmail co-founder, told me when he actually wrote his first check to Room to Read, he said, "John, if you don't have a solution for India, you do not have a solution for global illiteracy." So we're really proud to be working here and doing great work all around India. We want to get more people involved because all of us know India will never reach its full potential, nor will any nation state, if we don't get to the point of universal education. And then girls. A huge part of our program is making sure we have gender equality. You have all seen some incredibly educated, kick-ass women on stage at this conference, right? I mean, seriously. So we at Room to Read are all about making sure that girls go to school alongside boys. And I'm very proud to say that over 30,000 girls have been awarded long-term scholarships by Room to Read that get them through the end of secondary school as long as they pass to the next grade. And to date, 73% of our girl graduates have moved on to university and tertiary education, even though we can't pay for it, but we give them the training to help them find work, study, internships, and university scholarships. So we've come a long, long ways. We've also layered in quality metrics. The Gates Foundation, very thankfully for us, has underwritten a multi-year effort to measure everything we do. So we can look at quality outcomes, we can look at reading scores, comprehension levels. I'm not going to go through it in great detail, but I'll show you some quick statistics. I know many of you are data-driven. At Room to Read, we are data mad. We are like just absolutely just phenomenally committed to measuring our results. So what you see here are some statistics to answer the very easy question, or simple question, but are children learning to read? Well, what you see here are the teams, in this case in Sri Lanka, going out and using technology to measure reading scores. Sitting down with kids at control schools where we don't work, and then the Room to Read schools where we do work, to figure out, are they learning to read? Do they have comprehension levels? How quickly can they write a sentence? So we're measuring everything we do. And what you see here, you see some nervous young students actually taking the test. And you see this young girl here confidently reading out loud. And then what you see happening is that the green schools here are comparison schools. These are schools where Room to Read doesn't work. And then the blue schools are the schools where Room to Read does work. So in the case of Sri Lanka, kids in first grade are reading at 4x reading speeds in our schools versus the control schools. You see in Bangladesh, kids in grade 2 are reading at 56 words per minute. If there was a World Cup cricket championship for reading scores amongst kids in our reading countries, Bangladesh would actually right now be number 1 on the charts at 56 words per minute. How is Laos doing, one of the poorest countries in Asia? Kids in Laos, they're reading at 45 words per minute in grade 2. And then how's India doing? Well, this is where it gets exciting, because a lot of the schools we work in India actually have multiple grades in the same classroom. They might have grades 1 and 2 in a classroom. They might have grades 3 and 4 in the next classroom. Some of the schools we work in, school in the morning, a break for lunch for the teachers, and then half a day of school in the afternoon. Rural areas. So there's a lot of challenges that these children in India face. Many of them have illiterate parents who can't even help them to read or do their homework. So you'd think the reading scores might not be that great. Well, guess what? The news from India is really, really positive. Kids in grade 1 now reading at 17 words per minute. Kids in grade 2 reading at 41 words per minute. This makes us excited because this is the future of India. These kids may one day work for you. You may one day work for our kids. Who knows? So here's where we're working across India. We are here this week. We are actually trying to start our first partnerships and find our first funding to work in Karnataka. There's a lot of schools in the north that especially that we think need us, where we've done our site visits, where we feel like there's work to be done. So we ask all of you to join the revolution of Room to Read. We don't want to stop till we reach every single kid everywhere in the world, whether it be in Rajasthan, whether it be in Uttarakhand, whether it be in Maharashtra. I have some exciting news from Mumbai. How many of you have either lived in Mumbai or worked in Mumbai? Well, there's an exciting development in Mumbai. We began working there about 5 years ago in the municipal schools, and there are now about 290 schools in Mumbai that have room-to-read libraries and room-to-read reading pedagogy. The government has studied us. We've given them our statistics. We've given them our metrics. And guess what? Good news. The municipal government of Mumbai has committed that every single school in Mumbai is now going to use the room-to-read model for libraries, reading, pedagogy, and teacher training. So we will saturate the entire city of Mumbai. We would like to do that in other parts around the world. I would love to use the word saturate in sentences more often. Let me just tell you quickly how the tech community is supporting Room to Read. We're super proud of some of the impact awards we've won. We've won the Times of India Social Impact Award. We've won the Great Places to Work in India Award. If any of you are looking to become what I call a corporate refugee and come be a full-time do-gooder, we are hiring. roomtoread.org is our web page. We have the hiring up. But let me talk about how companies are helping Room to Read. How many of you know the story or have used a product from Atlassian, the Australian software company, software coding, testing, debugging, and groupware tools? It is a pre-IPO company. The guess is that the valuation is about $3 billion. $3 billion. The guys who started it, basically Mike and Scott, dropped out of university, thwacked some debt on their credit card, and started a company. They decided early on to build philanthropy into the company from day one. And they approached us and said, we want to do something brand new. We want to do something called the Atlassian Starter License. It'll be a lot of our tools that coders and developers and testers can use, but we don't want to give away a free trial because we believe that free is not valued. We believe we tell the world, download this free trial. It makes it sound like we don't believe in our product enough to charge for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to charge $10, but all $10 will go to Room to Read. We'll even pay the credit card processing fees out of our own pocket. And I said, Mike, Scott, how much do you think you guys are going to raise? They said, probably $25,000, probably $50,000. And I said, great, if you hit $50,000, that's 10 more school libraries. That'll impact 4,000 kids. That's a great thing to think about, right? And they said, right, Mike. I don't really do Australian accents very well, but they said, right, we're going to do that. 50,000 is the goal. Well, as of late last year, Atlassian had raised $3 million for Room to Read through their starter license. At our Sydney Gala in March, Mike and Scott got on stage and said, we're going to aim for $1 million more this year. We're only going to do that if you in the audience give Room to Read $1 million. We had people throwing checks at us. We raised over $1 million just from that audience in Sydney. By the end of this year, Atlassian is going to have raised $4 million for us just because these guys thought about getting outside their comfort zone and doing something different to do a starter license that actually had a social benefit through Room to Read. So we took that idea to other software companies to say, who wants to go second? Who wants to follow Atlassian? Well, Atlassian is a legend in Australia. They're the darlings of the Australian tech community. So we started in Australia. There's a company called Nuix. Nuix does a legal discovery software product called Prooffinder. It's $100 per download. All $100 goes to Room to Read. I have great news for you. Every 4 months, with metronomic regularity, Nuix presents us with a check that is large enough to build a school in Nepal or Cambodia or Vietnam. Every 4 months, those employees get together and they celebrate over their beer blasts and they say, we together as a company have done something great. Now, obviously, those Prooffinder customers can also be sold other products. So it's not just giving the money away, it's using this to get customers to come in. Atlassian estimates they've sold well over $4 million of additional products to those people who came in through the starter license. Google is an incredible partner of Room to Read. As an ex-Microsoft guy, I never thought I'd say that Google is one of our closest partnerships, but it is. And Google's done amazing things for us. Susan Wojcicki, many of you may know Susan or know of her, the YouTube CEO, is on Room to Read's global board. Google London started something called Tech Bikers. Put down your laptop, pick up your bicycle. Every year, 80 to 90 people from the London tech community get on the Eurostar. They go from London to Paris with their bikes. They ride back to London over the course of 3 days raising money. This year, the Tech Bikers raised £80,000 for Room to Read. That's enough money for about 20 additional libraries serving 8,000 kids. And it's all because a bunch of technology guys decided and gals decided to do something that would benefit Room to Read. Now, there's also a benefit because you're networking. You're meeting people from different companies. You're meeting VCs. You're meeting PE people. So this is a great place where philanthropy meets business objectives. And then Rovio. How many of you have ever played Angry Birds? Like every one of you, okay? Don't let your funders know that. Last year, Rovio did a promotion where you could actually download lucky coins. They were good deed coins. The idea being that for $4 US, you could actually download these coins virtually, and the money went to Room to Read. They raised about 80,000 US for us. So I'm just going to throw these examples out of ways the tech community is delighting their customers, delighting their employees, but feeling good because there's a sense of purpose, a sense that the company is doing something through their business mission to help us to reach more kids. Here in India, some of you may have seen the Boundaries for Books campaign. When ICC Cricket World Cup was happening in Bangladesh, India, and Sri Lanka, Reliance Life made us a deal that every single time any player from any team hit a 6, they would donate enough money for Room to Read to put a couple more girls in school or to put more books in our library. The campaign raised about $250,000, and it was great because no matter what team you were cheering for, you couldn't not cheer when a team hit a 6 because basically it meant that more kids were going to get educated. So there's lots of ways companies have gotten involved. We believe very much in keeping our costs low. Many of you as startups keep your costs low. Yesterday I saw 6 people walking into a hotel room. I assume it was because they were all saving money. I hope it was because they were all saving money, staying in a hotel room here. But Room to Read's belief is that every company can do something to help us to save money. So office space from Reliance in Mumbai, from Credit Suisse in London, in Tokyo, in Hong Kong, in Sydney. We have hotel partnerships where hotel companies donate room nights to us so we don't have to pay for our room nights. Hilton, Swire, Hyatt. We have product donations. So every single piece of data we capture at Room to Read, whether it be a photo, a video, a girl's report card, reading scores, all sits in the cloud on Salesforce. We have an all-you-can-eat deal, free of charge, unlimited users. When Room to Read was young and nobody knew who we were, we got a free license from Salesforce, and we got 25 user licenses. And then we actually had our 26th employee and our 28th employee and our 30th employee join, and we were hitting the limit. And the Salesforce team said, no, you guys have hit the limit. We can't give you any more free licenses. And I said, well, I'm just going to email Mark Benioff and see if Mark might override that decision. So I mailed Mark, and I told him, Mark, we're growing. You told me I should grow the organization. We're growing. I got a mail back. This is a lot about Mark Benioff. I got a mail back within 10 minutes from Mark, and he wrote, anything you want, comma, you get. I saved that mail. I want to unearth it at some point in time and reuse it. Room to Read now has over 1,000 users on Salesforce free of charge. They're plucking away at their donated ThinkPads thanks to our partnership with Lenovo. The list goes on and on and on. We even have people donate airline miles. So over-traveled investment bankers who have too many miles on Singapore Airlines or Cathay. We try not to accept frequent flyer miles on any of the American airlines because the service is not quite as good. But we get donated frequent. That was a joke. Kind of, but not really. But just certain ways people can help us. And so I want to close by basically telling you 2 things. I'm going to show you an inspiring video from Rajasthan that's going to end this to show you the impact we've made. But the good news is, MR told me we'd do this. He said we'd get to the goal early. We this year, with the support of the tech community, the business community, the support of governments, we, by the end of 2015, will reach our 10 millionth student. So our moonshot goal, thank you. Our moonshot goal was to get there by 2020. We're there at 2015. So what have we done? We've upped the ante. The new 2020 goal is to reach at least 15 million students, and I will be shocked if we don't overachieve on that goal. To get there, we need help and we need support, so please talk to us. Go to roomtoread.org, follow us on Twitter, give us your business card. MR is going to tell you how to do it. We've got copies of my book we're going to give away. But let me just close quickly by telling you the story of one of those girls. All of us have to get outside our comfort zone if we're going to be successful in life and do something that's moonshotty. Well, this story from Rajasthan is about a girl and her parents and an entire community that dared to get outside their comfort zone and dared to think differently. This young woman, Shabnam, is one of the 10 million students that have worked with Room to Read and gotten their education with our help. I want to close with this, and I hope that some of you will be in tears because this is an absolutely beautiful story, and we're thrilled to be rolling it now.
हमारा गांव में 5वीं की स्कूल में एक मास्टर था। मास्टर वो ऐसा था कि मतलब वो पढ़ाई लिखाई कोई नहीं करता था। बालक तो आ जावे, अगर कोई पढ़ाना लिखा।
So I get to close on that inspiring note, and the question I'm often asked is, so what's next for you guys? You've hit your 10 million goal, you've set your 15 million goal for 2020. What's your moonshot after that, if you take a 30-year view of the moonshot goal? And I think for us at Room to Read, it's very, very simple. Our moonshot goal is to forever end this incredibly depressing idea that any child can be told at age 5 or age 6 or age 7, you've lost the lottery of life. You were born in the wrong place at the wrong time to the wrong family, and you therefore will not get educated and will be one more generation to live in poverty. Our goal, our moonshot goal, is to say that we will tell every single child you were born in the right place at the right time because Room to Read was there for you, the Indian tech and startup community was there for you, the global business community was there for you, and the tech giants of the world were there for you. And together, we can look every single young person in the eye and say truthfully, right place, right time, you're going to be in school, your life's going to change forever. Would love to get your support because you can't go to the moon without a huge, productive, high-energy team. Please join our revolution. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.